Today we will be discussing the great gifts of practical, experiential spirituality in the form of the great paths to God. These will be analyzed and discussed in a practical and helpful way, making use of integral theory and understanding your native perspective. This will be taking an integral perspective based on the use of the Four Quadrants. Essentially, the Four Quadrants are a way to navigate ourselves with the space of all that exists. Ken Wilber, the pioneer of integral theory, has made the Four Quadrants well known, and for more information check out his work. We will be discussing the four standard paths to God as designated in the yoga systems from books like Bhagavad Gita, and showing how this relates to the Four Quadrants and what will best suit you in your own practice by understanding what are native perspectives. Native perspectives is the idea that all people have a natural disposition that suits them towards the way they view the world and solve problems. We'll be showing you how, by understanding your native perspective, you can choose a yogic practice from the four great paths that fits your personal way of being. This practice can then be understood to be your main practice, and from there we can integrate from all four yogas to come up with a system and a set of practices that will be most effective. We will begin by explaining the four yogas and native perspectives, how these fit together, and then talk about practical things you can do to begin practicing yoga and make progress towards a better way of living. Yoga essentially means to unite, or yoke. Each of the paths of yoga has the same goal, which we call God realization, or the attainment of happiness, peace, love, and wisdom. The fact that there are these four approaches towards the same goal is illustrative of the fact that we are all different and need different approaches in the experience and discovery of what is God or Spirit, and what is our true self. The approach that we are using to discover your best suited method is based on the integral theory of native perspectives. Let's start by looking at the Four Quadrants and where those perspectives and yogas fit in. The Four Quadrants are a kind of map we can use to understand everything that is arising in our experience at any given time, and can also be used on large scales, like where everything in the universe sort of fits in, you could say. The purpose of this video is not really to go into what the quadrants are. For more information about that, check out Integral Theory or search the net for the Four Quadrants. We can see the quadrants are divided into four parts: I, we, it, and its. Native perspectives is about showing where you are situated on this map, what your home base is. A person with a native perspective in the upper left quadrant feels that what is most important to them in life and in any situation is their own personal thoughts and feelings. They are situated in an I space. How do I feel about this personally? In this video we will show how Jnana Yoga is especially useful to this kind of person. A person situated in the bottom left quadrant is situated in relationship. What is most important to them is how the group functions together, and how do we all relate in any given situation. This type of person will possibly find the practice of Bhakti Yoga most applicable to them. In the upper right quadrant we find the realm of action and doing. This type of person feels most suited towards practical action in any situation, and this relates to the practice of Karma Yoga. And in the bottom right is the realm of system thinking. This type of person wants to understand life and situations in terms of what is the system used, and how do we understand the system. This relates to the practice of Raja Yoga. Now, before you jump to a conclusion about which yoga is suited to you, we should understand that the problem is more subtle than that. What I am recommending and explaining in this video is how we can integrate and use all four yogas in our lives. By understanding what your native perspective is will show you what could perhaps be your home base yoga and the way in which you understand and interpret the yoga you practice. For example, a person could find that they best understand themselves and problems in terms of systems, and this would give them a natural disposition towards Raja Yoga. However, this does not mean the person will not benefit from the practice of Bhakti Yoga, which is all about relationship. but they will probably want to approach the practice of Bhakti Yoga by understanding what is the system of Bhakti Yoga and how does it work, such that there is rather a dynamic relationship between your home-based perspective and each yoga you practice. The purpose of understanding your native perspective here is to show how the four yogas cater for all different types of people, and your ideal practice will be one that is suited to you. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's spend some time having a look at what sounds most to be like our native perspective. There is a test you can take to try to find this, but here we will just investigate it and observe and analyze ourselves to find which one most sounds like us. Look at a situation in your life where you are faced with a particular problem. How do you understand the situation? What is most important to you? Is it that you are most concerned with what you think or feel about it? This means you are probably an I-space kind of person, and may have a natural disposition towards Jnana Yoga. Or do you want to know how the whole group interacts and get the problem solved, social dynamics, etc.? This may mean you are a we person, which could give you a natural disposition towards Bhakti Yoga. Or do you just want to take action and know that we can do what we can do to solve the problem? This may give you a natural disposition towards Karma Yoga. Or do you just want to understand what system we are going to use to solve it, or maybe fix the system? This could give you a natural disposition towards Raja Yoga. You may already have figured this out, or it might take you some time to maybe just watch yourself over a week or so and see how you behave in your life and how you go about things. Knowing what is your own native perspective is a great self-knowledge and will help you in and of itself. Now we will begin to look at what the four yogas are and what they look like and how we can start practicing or improve our current practice. Let's start with the upper left quadrant and work our way through. This is the yoga associated with I, my personal being, and who I am, the practice of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is essentially a path of knowledge and self-inquiry, an endeavour to find out who I am. For each yoga, I am going to give a set of practical things you can do to practice this yoga. For a jnani, it is essential to inquire into one's own self and who they are, and also expanding spiritual knowledge. Here are some examples of jnana practice. Journaling. Keep a special notebook with you that you write in every day so that God can hear you. Use the notebook to examine yourself, the things that are happening in your life, and your feelings about God and the nature of reality. Try to write in the notebook every day, perhaps morning and evening, or wherever you need it, and when it is full, read back over it with God, and reflect on what it means and how it has shown a progression in your spiritual life. Self-examination. Apart from what is already done in the journal, self-examination is a process of examining one's own feelings, thoughts, and actions in relation to God, and spotting problems or bad habits that one finds, and then endeavouring to rid oneself of those habits by looking to the Lord for help. Reading. Finding and accumulating knowledge of spiritual things through literature or audiobooks, lectures, videos, and scriptures. One should not do this to accumulate knowledge itself, but look to God for what He is leading one to learn. One can then reflect back on what has been learnt throughout the day or week and look to apply it in one's life. In the ultimate sense, here one is to understand who oneself is, who God is, and the nature of reality itself. If you have found that your native perspective was I, you may find this type of work to be the best for you. However, it is generally understood all yogas need the help from the other yogas, so in that sense, jnana is always essential. Next we'll go to the bottom left quadrant, the practice of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is all about understanding and relating to God as a person, in love and devotion and surrender. One opens up their emotions to a great extent through this practice and ultimately finds union and or beautiful relationship through this practice. Here are some practices of this discipline. Sacred altar and deity. Here one has a special altar in their house, where they can put sacred things and maybe a statue of their favorite form of God. One can offer incense, flowers, candles, ghee lamps, and bow down or meditate in front of it. The offerings are done with feeling and understanding the inner meaning of what they represent, and could be, for example, to light a candle every night, etc. Japa and prayer. This is the practice of offering oneself to God by opening himself up to God in prayer or repetition of his names. This can be done out loud or in one's mind, and is essentially about focusing on God as a person, perhaps by visualizing him or her, and calling or asking for spiritual opening and the fruits of God. Pastime meditation. Here one reads books like the Bible or Bhagavad Gita or other devotional scriptures, or listens to them in audio or movies, and feels relation to God in them, such that the pastimes are a living communion with the actual events. Pastimes can then be memorized and meditated upon in active visualization, whilst chanting perhaps, and participated in, knowing that God is actually present in the visualization. Kirtan or singing. Singing devotional songs on an instrument like guitar, or repeating God's names, which meditating on the presence of God and opening up. So now let's move to the upper right quadrant, Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the yoga of action and renouncing its fruit. The work that is done in a mood of selfless service to humanity or God, and not for any particular result or gain, be that money or honour. The work is done with effort. It is done well to one's best effort and with the idea in mind of being useful. This can also be acts of kindness towards other beings, or maybe something like donating money to a good cause, or even doing some kind of work in the world to make a positive impact toward one's highest aspirations of love, charity, and well-being for God and all living beings. Mindful or devotional action. This is such that not only is the work being done, but it is done in a mindful or conscious way with God in mind, and with feeling and even prayerfully. The goal of Karma Yoga is to free one from the bonds of karma and act in such a way that really no action is being done, or such that one is acting on or towards God directly. Finally, the lower right quadrant, the path of meditation, Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga presents one with a system that he can follow in order to get the result best explained by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras, etc. The yoga we see in yoga studios is an example of Raja Yoga. Asanas. Here the yogi puts his body through a series of conditioning to put it in working order and have good energy flow physically and subtly, and can be done consciously with mantra repetition and for God. Pranayam. These are specific breathing techniques to move prana or life force around the body and bring the mind into a state of peace suitable for meditation. Meditation. There are many techniques of meditation, but essentially focus and insight is needed. One continually brings his mind back to a single object and goes through many meditation experiences that result in samadhi or union or absorption in unmanifest reality. The system person likes Raja Yoga because it presents a system or set of specific exercises to achieve the goal. Now that we have an understanding of what the four yogas are and how to go about practicing them and advancing, we can choose one to be our main or home practice, and this should relate to your own native perspective. Such is the way with yoga that each path is friends with all the others, and the best yoga should take something from all these paths and apply it in a way that suits them. I hope you have learned something from this video. Please enjoy the practice, it is an amazing journey, and for more information check out my other videos or my website mukundadas.moonfruit.com, and please like and share the video and subscribe to my channel. Namaste, God bless and peace.